Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala gives us in Surah Saba, chapter 34, a picture of a civilization that was very prosperous. لقد كان لسبأ في مسكنهم آية جنتان عن يمين وشمال كلوا من رزق ربكم واشكروا له بلدة طيبة ورب غفور. There was for the tribe of Sheba, in their dwelling place a sign, 2 gardens on the right and on the left. They were told, eat from the provisions of your Lord and be grateful to him. A good land have you and a forgiving Lord. So this tribe, and there's a lot of similarities if you think of this country, the bounties that we enjoy, and this is a lesson to any civilization that is similar to that. So Sheba had the luxuries of any great civilization. They had wealth, they had gardens, they had, luxury of all type. Lush gardens full of fruit trees, water streams flowing through it, flowers. So it's just a great civilization. And they were invited to enjoy these bounties from Allah and thank Him. The issue is nobody on earth disputes, the bounty. The difference between a disbeliever and a believer, the disbeliever only sees the bounty, the believer sees the giver. Sees past that bounty to the giver. But everyone appreciates a good thing. When you have a good thing, everybody appreciates it. The difference is, going past it and appreciating the person who, the one who gave you these bounties, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So attributing bounties to anyone other than Allah is a form of shirk. And, that is not good. So the verse is describing the way that this tribe repaid Allah's bounties. All the luxury they were living in the next verse, فَأَعْرَضُوا, they turned away. They turned away from Allah. They didn't care. They wanted to be attached to their sins, to their whims, to follow whatever they want. They did not want to follow Allah's path. They did not want to recognize that it was a bounty from Allah and to thank Him and to employ it in His pleasure. So they turned away from their faith, not thanking God. فَأَعْرَضُوا فَأَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ سَيْلَ الْعَرِمِ وَبَدَّلْنَاهُمْ بجنتين ذواتي أكل خمط وأثل وشيء من صدر قليل. So they turned away and Allah destroyed their gardens and replaced it with 2 gardens that was sparse, a lot of thorny plants and very little fruit, as a punishment for not appreciating Allah's bounty. And the lesson to the rest of us is we have to appreciate whatever bounties that Allah gave us, because He can easily make you appreciate it with its absence. We want to appreciate Allah's bounties with their plentifulness, when they're bountiful, not when they're gone and say, I wish I had thanked for them. ذَلِكَ جَزَيْنَاهُمْ بِمَا كَفَرُوا وَهَلْ نُجَازِي إِلَّا الْكَفُورِ. This is how we rewarded them for their ingratitude. Would we ever punish anyone in such a way except the ungrateful? So when they turned away from Allah, their civilization perished. And that is any civilization that is not connected to Allah, it is destined to perish. The only longevity for any civilization is to be attached to Allah. And we saw that in the Muslim, even when the Muslims took over, they went to Spain. For a while they were in control, but then they deviated, and what happened 700 years later? They were kicked out, because Allah is not going to support a civilization unless it's connected to Him and showing gratitude with action, not just with words. And Allah gives us another picture of the same tribe in verse 18. وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمْ وَبَيْنَ الْقُرَى الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا قُرًى ظَاهِرَةً وَقَدَّرْنَا فِيهَا السَّيْرَ سِيرُوا فِيهَا لَيَالٍ وَأَيَّامًا آمِنِينَ. And we placed between them and the cities which we had blessed many visible cities. So they had on the route, they had many cities along the way. So it was safe, lit, you didn't have to take provisions with you when you had to travel because there's always food along the way. So they were safe in their travel. They had, luxury along the way. Everything was great. فقالوا ربنا باعد بين أسفارنا وظلموا أنفسهم فجعلناهم أحاديث ومزقناهم كل ممزق إن في ذلك لآيات لكل صبار شكور in verse 19. But insolently they said, our Lord, lengthen the distance between our journeys. Make our journey more difficult. We don't want this nice safety of having the villages right next to each other where we can, we have safety and we have provisions. We don't want that. And they wronged themselves, so we made them narrations and dispersed them in total dispersion. Indeed, in that are signs for everyone patient and grateful. Now, in reality, they didn't actually say that with words. Nobody in their right mind would say that, Ya Allah, destroy me. They did not say that with their words, but they said it with their action. When they showed ingratitude, they were inviting Allah's punishment. They were saying, Ya Allah, destroy us. That's what their behavior, lisan al-hal, that's what their behavior was saying, while they didn't say it with their mouth. So they asked for destruction with their ingratitude and turning away from Allah. So they were destroyed, dispersed, they were driven away from their lands and disbanded because of their turning away from Allah. Allah's correction is severe and painful for the ones who turn away. So the point is not to study history because it's an entertaining story. A lot of these verses, they apply to us. And they apply to us in this land even more. A person who earns his income from unlawful ways is literally asking Allah to destroy him and his wealth. Turning away from Allah has a price. Disobedience has a price. Cheating in business has a price. Failing to lower the gaze has a price. Infringing on others' rights has a price. Everything has a price. You do whatever you want, but there's a price to pay. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will send calamities not on the individual level only, but on nation level. Earthquakes, famine, wars, floods, plagues, poverty. We saw COVID 3 years ago. It's a pandemic. I mean, it was a staged thing, but still it affected everyone. It's a divine law that you want longevity, you want peace, and to be honored on earth, you have to be attached to Allah. There's no other way. Because if you're not attached to Allah, you're going to do whatever you want. And whenever you do whatever you want, you're going to take what's not yours, you're going to oppress others, and corruption will happen. So we've recently seen, we've seen in the past, 10 years plus, we've seen tsunamis, we've seen Katrina, we've seen Houston floods, we've seen famines in Africa. Haiti, now they're starving to death. By the way, Haiti, they sold their souls to the devil. And they took black magic, and ever since they've been inflicted with one catastrophe after another. That's what happens when you're ungrateful to Allah's, bounties. You will be destroyed. At some point, you will be destroyed. That's Allah's promise for the ones. And the more injustice they do, and the more sin they do, then the closer the punishment is. So if we love our safety and we love our presence here, we have to spread Islam. We have to stop evil, if we can, in our communities. We've seen what people are trying to do. They're trying to push pornography into schools. So they're trying to push all of these deviant things on our kids, on the society. If we stay quiet, Allah's punishment is going to come on us just as it comes on them. So we have a responsibility at least to educate ourselves and our neighbors and anyone in our sphere to push back that sin. Because the more we push back, on the sin, then the circle of good will expand. But if we sit there silent and don't do anything, then we deserve whatever Allah sends. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.